Live TV where anything can happen, and sometimes it goes wrong. From shocking tragedies to jaw-dropping rescues, today we're looking into the 10 darkest moments in live TV history. What happens when the cameras keep rolling through chaos, danger, and heartbreak? Stick around, because these stories will leave you speechless. Ruth Thalia Sayas Sanchez. Do you think secrets are better left unsaid? In 2012, a controversial reality TV show called The Moment of Truth aired in Lima, Peru. The show had already gained popularity in other countries, and now it was Peru's turn to dive into its dramatic format. The concept was simple but brutal. Contestants would sit on a stage, hooked up to a polygraph machine, and answer 21 personal and often humiliating questions. Their families and loved ones were sitting in the audience, watching every moment unfold. If they told the truth, they could walk away with a life-changing cash prize. But was the truth worth the price? Enter Ruth Sanchez, the very first contestant on the Peruvian version of the show. On July 7, 2012, Ruth sat in the hot seat with her parents, watching from the audience. They believed she worked at a call center. But the first question cut straight to the core. Do you think your parents would still be proud of you if they knew what you did for a living? Ruth hesitated, clearly uncomfortable, but she decided to be honest. In front of millions of viewers, she revealed that as a nightclub hostess, she occasionally accepted compensation for more private engagements. You could feel the tension in the air as her family sat in stunned silence. But Ruth wasn't done. As the questions got harder, her determination grew stronger. She admitted that her relationship with her boyfriend, Russell Romero, wasn't genuine. She remained with him until a better option appeared. In the end, Ruth walked away with $25,000, a life-changing amount in Peru. At that moment, it might have seemed worth it, but the fallout from her confessions was far from over. 2 months after the episode aired, Ruth was found dead in a well on the outskirts of Lima. An autopsy revealed she had been poisoned and strangled. The prime suspect, her boyfriend, Russell Romero. Romero eventually confessed to the crime. He admitted to drugging Ruth with sleeping medication before ending her life with the help of a family member. While his exact motive wasn't fully confirmed, many believe he was humiliated by her public confessions on the show. Others speculate he felt entitled to a portion of her winnings. The tragedy left everyone asking, was the prize worth the cost? The Obscura Park disaster moments on live TV leave an unforgettable mark, and this story is one of them. Between 1994 and 2001, Brazil had one of the most popular children's shows on TV called Obscura Park, hosted by the charismatic Obscura, a model, actress, and singer. The show was bright, colorful, and packed with fun games, music, and even cartoon segments. Kids loved it, and it quickly became a staple in households across the country. But on January 11, 2001, everything changed in the most terrifying way imaginable. The show was being filmed live, with a packed studio audience of kids and their parents. Obscura was in the middle of a lively musical performance, surrounded by dancers and colorful props. At the center of the stage stood the iconic spaceship prop, a huge structure that Obscura would emerge from at the start of each show. Unbeknownst to everyone, a short circuit had started a small fire inside the spaceship. A stagehand noticed the smoke and rushed in with a fire extinguisher, but it was already too late. Within moments, the small fire turned into a raging inferno. Flames shot up, plastic props began to melt, and smoke filled the air. Obscura and her dancers ran for safety, while the audience scrambled to escape. The fire spread with terrifying speed, consuming the stage in less than a minute. Cameras kept rolling, capturing the chaos and panic as families fought to find their way out. Amazingly, no one died in the fire. 4 people were treated for burns, and several others suffered from smoke inhalation. But thanks to the bravery of Leonelson, Obscura's bodyguard, and the show's resident clown, many were pulled to safety. Both men suffered injuries during their rescue efforts and were later hailed as heroes. The aftermath of the fire left Obscura deeply shaken. She reportedly struggled with severe depression in the months that followed. She stopped performing for a while and took time to visit many of the families who had been in the audience that day. Although she eventually returned to the spotlight, Obscura Park was cancelled and never aired again. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Rumors began to spread. Some extremist religious groups started claiming that the fire wasn't an accident. They insisted that Shuksa was involved in Satanism and had somehow summoned the fire through a ritualistic performance. Others even claimed she had been laughing while running from the stage. Of course, none of this was true. Video footage clearly showed Shuksa panicking and running for her life, just like everyone else. Investigations concluded that the fire was caused by an electrical fault, not any sinister ritual. Bill Shirk. Some stories blur the line between bravery and pure insanity. And Bill Shirk's life is one of them. Born in 1945 in Indianapolis, Indiana, Shirk wasn't just your average guy. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in education from Ball State University in 1968, but his career would go far beyond classrooms. By 1968, Bill became the station manager at Work Radio, but he wore many hats: sales manager, program director, production manager, and even DJ. For 4 years, he kept the station running smoothly until 1972, when he moved on to become general manager at WXLI, another radio station in Indianapolis. Just 2 years later, he bought the station and even purchased a TV station. Despite all his responsibilities, Shirk stayed on the airwaves, becoming a familiar voice well into the 2000s. But radio and TV weren't enough for Bill Shirk. In 1976, he began a second career as an escape artist, following in the footsteps of the legendary Harry Houdini. And he wasn't just good, he was record-breaking good. Between 1976 and 1980, Shirk set 8 world records, including the fastest escape from a straitjacket in under 5 seconds and the fastest escape from a jail cell. One of his most memorable stunts happened in 1977 when he performed an escape to raise money for charity in Marion County. Shirk was buried alive with a python, 2 tarantulas, and a rattlesnake. Yes, really, for 79 hours. The stunt raised $10,000 and even caught the attention of President Jimmy Carter, who made a personal donation. Shirk also starred in a movie called The Escapist, playing a radio station owner fighting off a corporate takeover. While the plot was fictional, the stunts were very real. In one jaw-dropping scene, he escaped from a straitjacket while dangling 1,600 feet above the ground from a helicopter. Throughout his career, Shirk performed some of the most dangerous stunts ever attempted. He was buried alive successfully 10 times, narrowly avoided being run over by a speeding train, and even ran with the bulls in Pamplona while wearing a straitjacket. But here's the twist: he hated every second of it. Shirk confessed that he never relished the danger and only took on the risky stunts to promote his radio and TV stations. But in 1992, Bill decided to attempt his most dangerous stunt, yet a live burial escape in front of TV cameras. He announced he would be handcuffed, placed in a plexiglass coffin, and buried under 14,000 pounds of dirt and concrete. The plan was simple: escape and dig his way to the surface. As cameras rolled, Shirk was lowered into the coffin, handcuffed, and buried under dirt and concrete. But the weight proved too much. The plexiglass coffin cracked, collapsing under the immense pressure. Panic erupted. A backhoe was brought in to dig away the debris, and 2 men with shovels worked desperately to pull Shirk out. Somehow, against all odds, they rescued him alive. Shirk was rushed to the hospital, and despite his severe injuries, he made a full recovery. Stephen Port, a master chef. Cooking shows are a staple of television, but few are as famous as MasterChef. First airing in the UK on July 2, 1990, this show quickly became a worldwide sensation. Amateur chefs from all walks of life step into the kitchen, hoping to impress judges, win a cash prize, and claim the prestigious title of MasterChef champion. The show's success spread globally, leading to adaptations in countries like the United States, Australia, and South Africa. Over the years, many contestants have gone on to become culinary superstars. But not every story tied to MasterChef is one of inspiration. In 2018, during the show's 9th season, a background contestant appeared who carried a dark and disturbing secret. Stephen Port, a man who appeared harmless on the surface but was hiding a horrifying past. Born and raised in East London, Port was often described as quiet and isolated. He was bullied as a child and left school at 16. When his family couldn't afford to send him to art college, he trained as a chef instead. For years, Port worked behind the scenes in kitchens while living a reclusive life. He wore a toupee to hide his hair loss, a detail that became noticeable during his brief appearance on MasterChef. The reason? He hoped the wig would boost his confidence when he went out to nightclubs to meet other men. But beneath this mild exterior was a disturbing reality. Port lied about his life online, claiming he had served in the Navy, attended Oxford University, and worked as a special needs teacher. In truth, he was living a double life. On June 17, 2014, Port met 23-year-old Anthony Woolgate. Using sleep medication, he incapacitated Woolgate and tragically ended his life. Port anonymously called for an ambulance, but it was too late to save Anthony. Over the next year, Port continued his horrifying pattern. His next victim was 22-year-old Gabriel Cavari, followed by 21-year-old Daniel Whitworth and 25-year-old Jack Taylor. Cavari and Whitworth were found in St. Margaret of Antioch Cemetery, while Taylor's body was discovered nearby. In 2015, Port was arrested and charged with 4 murders, 10 instances of poisoning, and several additional serious offenses. His not guilty plea was rendered irrelevant by the overwhelming evidence against him. He received a life sentence without any chance of parole and remains incarcerated at HMP Belmarsh Prison in London to this day. Shannon Stone. A day at the ballpark should be filled with excitement, cheering for your team, and making unforgettable memories. But for 39-year-old firefighter Shannon Stone, what started as a special outing with his son turned into a heartbreaking disaster. It was July 7, 2011, and Shannon and his 6-year-old son, Cooper, were on their way to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, Texas. They were there to watch the Texas Rangers take on the Oakland Athletics. Cooper was thrilled he had one goal that day: catch a foul ball as a souvenir. On their way to the game, the father and son duo even stopped at a store to buy Cooper a brand new baseball glove. After taking their seats behind the left field wall, Shannon, wearing his blue Rangers cap and white shirt, was eager for a great day with his son. During the second inning, Connor Jackson hit a foul ball that bounced off the wall and rolled toward Josh Hamilton, the left fielder for the Rangers. Seeing the ball in play, Shannon called out to Hamilton, asking if he could toss the ball up so he could give it to Cooper. Hamilton smiled, grabbed the ball, and tossed it toward Shannon, but the throw fell just short. Shannon leaned over the stadium railing to catch it, but in an instant, he lost his balance and he fell 20 feet, striking the concrete below with his head first. Nearby fans gasped, and one spectator, Ronnie Hares, desperately reached out to grab Shannon but couldn't stop the fall. The cameras caught the initial slip, but thankfully didn't show the tragic landing, as it happened behind the scoreboard. When emergency personnel arrived, Shannon was still conscious. His first words were about his son. "Please make sure Cooper is okay." At first, it seemed like he might recover. He was placed on a stretcher, and staff reassured him that Cooper would be taken care of. But tragedy struck again. On the way to the hospital, Shannon went into cardiac arrest, and despite every effort by paramedics, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. The news hit hard. Josh Hamilton, the player who had tossed the ball, was absolutely devastated. The entire Texas Rangers team struggled to process what had happened. Fans across the country started calling for changes. Some argued the stadium railings should be higher, while others thought the team should face consequences. But Shannon's wife, Susan Stone, took a different approach. Instead of blaming the team or Hamilton, she wrote heartfelt letters to Josh Hamilton and the Rangers organization, making it clear that no one was at fault. She encouraged them to keep throwing baseballs to fans, reminding them of how much joy those moments bring. In Shannon's memory, the Texas Rangers erected a bronze statue of him and Cooper outside the stadium. They also set up a memorial fund in his honor. Letters of support poured in from across the country, showing just how deeply the story had touched people. On a memorable day at the ballpark, Cooper Stone was given the honor of throwing the first pitch during a Rangers playoff game against the Tampa Bay Rays. As Josh Hamilton caught the pitch, he walked up to Cooper, wrapped him in a hug, and shared a quiet moment of connection. Share your thoughts below, and if you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real-life stories that prove truth is often stranger and scarier than fiction.